what this is?
What?
This is Ghidorah, the three-headed monster. It has Ghidorah, the three-headed monster for the very first time, and there's a little moth that it spits stuff in people's face, and Rodan's there, and he's like, oh! I loved this movie as a kid. Come on, let's go watch it.
Okay.
So that happened.
Yeah.
Earth's mightiest monsters must join together to do battle against a planet-destroying space dragon.
Wait. I got another one. Made in Japan, James Bond protects an exotic princess from the crosshairs of a shades-wearing, boulder-catching assassin.
Boulder catching?
You'll know what I'm talking about.
Godzilla number 5. We just finished it. And do you want to go ahead and tell us what you thought?
Sure. I hated it.
The only other movie that you've hated is Ray.
We're not gonna say. I don't know if we were not in the right mindset or what. Literally, as soon as the movie got done, I turned to you and I said, I fucking hated that movie.
For the record, I don't hate this movie. I don't necessarily love it, but I don't feel the same way as he does. So, you know, for all the YouTube comments that are going to be like, oh, you guys suck! You know, direct it all towards BNAT, because BNAT needs the hate. You know, he needs to be initiated in that circle of fire. So,
well, you know, every list I see about Godzilla movies, this is usually in the top, definitely in the top 10, sometimes even the top 5, I'd say. I'm ranking the movies as we go, and so far, Raids Again is the worst, and this is just barely above that.
Let's really go into, I think we can both agree about the story. And that's probably my main problem with it. Sekizawa wrote this, and, you know, he wrote movies like Rodan and Baron the Unbelievable. Apparently Sekizawa was getting really sick and tired of the whole monster on the loose trope, really. He wanted to try to change things up, and he really thought that maybe he could have an interesting human story going along with the monster action. The story is not driven by the monsters, it's driven by other factors as well. Sounds okay, but how's your execution working out for you? It doesn't work. This is literally, and has been called many times, 007 meets giant monsters. Like, the human action has nothing to do with the monster action.
This woman from Venus, she's a princess. Is she Martian or Venetian?
Venetian.
Not from
Well,
Venice.
Venetian in the Japanese version, Martian in the American version.
And there's these assassins trying to kill her. There's some espionage going on. They're trying to protect this.
And why are they trying to kill her?
They never really say.
And how is she from Venus?
They never really say.
A bunch of half-baked ideas, really. Everything straight down to why is King Ghidorah even arriving on Earth?
They made some sort of reference to King Ghidorah destroying Venus, right?
Yeah, and apparently King Ghidorah arrived on Venus 5,000 years ago. So I don't know what he's been doing, you know, 5 millenniums.
First time, I believe, aliens mentioned in the franchise.
Yes. I guess on some level the first alien invasion storyline, even though it's not technically a intelligent alien force, it's just King Ghidorah arriving to destroy the planet for who the fuck knows.
We paused it at one point, it was 50 minutes in. That's the first mention of King Ghidorah. The title character, 50 minutes in. 40 minutes in is when we saw Godzilla and Rodan for the first time for maybe 15 to 30 seconds.
A 90-minute movie doesn't appear until the halfway mark.
Yeah.
Any of these creatures. It's very appropriate that this would be what you rank as your second least favorite Godzilla movie of all time so far, right?
Yeah.
And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that guess how much time they had to make this movie? 9 months, which is only 3 more months than Godzilla Raids Again. It's rushed. There's no time given for anything. Hello.
Godzilla, oh, just an embarrassment. I think he finally met his match with Rodan because point blank breathes his atomic fire right in Rodan's face.
Don't you mean his can of Lysol? There's something really weird going on with the atomic breath because it's only animated maybe twice, and all the other times it's like this airy, it kind of looks like what the breath looked like in the first Godzilla movie in some shots. But you're right. Point blank to Rodan. Keep in mind, this was the same atomic breath that destroyed Mothra in one shot in the previous movie.
And then he resorts the entire the entire rest of the movie to just throwing boulders at Rodan, at King Ghidorah. Rodan literally laughing at Godzilla while he's doing this. That's all he does throughout the whole movie. I'm not exaggerating.
The fight with Godzilla and Rodan I've seen a lot of people say that it's really well done and stuff, but when you're coming off of seeing Godzilla against Mothra, it doesn't flow. The majority of the fighting is done with puppets, and really bad puppets at that.
To me, it looked more of like a bickering match between Bert and Ernie. Especially
which
with
is
the
not
Muppets.
too far off, considering all that what happens.
It's not epic at all. It's more of just like a little swatting match, like.
Rodan's redesign doesn't look like the 1956 version, which again is fine. He's made it look a little bit more goofy, and this movie does introduce that silliness, which the series, debate all you want, it's kind of needed. People have likened him to Don Knotts. Would you agree with that?
Oh my God, there's Godzilla! Hey! So Mothra's in this movie too, in caterpillar form. An interesting part that can be seen as really stupid or really interesting was, Godzilla and Rodan, they're bickering together. Mothra comes by, tries to get him to stop fighting, and basically say like, hey, look, we gotta team up to fight Ghidorah here, so you guys need to knock it off. So she's kind of communicating with the two of them, with the fairies, translating what Mothra and the two monsters are saying to the humans. And Godzilla and Rodan say something I thought was pretty interesting, which was, they don't want to help the humans because they feel bullied by the humans. They could have gone off into so much with that. Maybe I'm just looking into it, but you got these two giant monsters who they feel like they're the bullies. They come to land, they're like destroying everything, and they feel like they're the bullies. Like, so clearly
they're the victims. They're the ones being.
Or they're the victims. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're the ones being bullied. Clearly, they don't see what they're doing as anything like harmful. They're just stomping over something that's in the way. They could have done so much with that. Never touched on again. Maybe I'm just looking into it a little too much.
No, I don't think you are. That is a very interesting thing, because now we're like, it's giving this new dimension to Godzilla. Literally, it's just a one-off line, and it's never mentioned again.
Let's talk about the title character, King Ghidorah. That's one of my favorite giant monsters. I love the suit. I love the detailing of it, the scales, the necks. And you said that it was originally supposed to have rainbow-colored wings and shoot flames.
And it was purple, too.
I think they definitely improved. I love this monster. It's just so awesome.
That's the reason why you see the movie. You go to the movie to see a giant three-headed space dragon shooting lightning down because his destruction scenes are awesome. They're extremely well done. He's only in the movie for 15 minutes, which again is probably a result of production time, production budget.
Sure.
Hey, I get it. Ghidorah was apparently just a fucking mess on set. Like, it was ridiculous. I got a quote right here actually from the special effects cameraman. There were times when all three necks got tangled up, or the piano wires would reflect the studio lights, or the wires would get caught in Ghidorah's scales. It was an agonizing operation. The suit actor for Ghidorah, 47 years old.
That's pretty good.
No arms in the suit, so he has like this little, handlebar on the inside, and there's technicians up in the rafters, like maybe 6 to 7 at a time, operating the necks and the wings and the tails. I mean, this thing is a special effect brought to life, and it looks great on screen. I think he looks even better in his appearance in the next movie. This is why you go and see
the hard work that they put in this thing totally shows.
Oh yeah,
there's so many moving parts to it. It's not just a guy in a suit.
I think the perfect story is actually when Kat is Brian's girlfriend. She hadn't watched the movie. She came down and she saw some of the freaking goofiness of Godzilla versus Rodan, and of course she's laughing at it. We were laughing at it too. But genuine response out of Kat. When Ghidorah came up, the laughter stopped, and she's like, "Wow, that's actually kind of cool." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she
not a fan at all.
Not at all. Not at all. I think that's saying something. It's a testament to the work that those guys do.
The fight, the big fight at the end.
I
was disappointed.
Godzilla doesn't use his breath.
He doesn't.
Why doesn't Godzilla use his breath against fucking King Ghidorah? He just fucking throws rocks. You mentioned this for like 2 seconds before.
He's a big pussy.
He's a huge pussy. It makes no sense.
All
it
he
really
does is hold the two tails while Mothra and Rodan do all the work.
Once again, it's Mothra's silk that ultimately wins the day. It's like the most powerful freaking weapon ever. It incapacitates every single opponent that it hits. It's the first time you've ever had 4 monsters going at it. And a fatal 4-way like that, that's awesome. Love it. I don't think it's necessarily great in execution.
When this movie ended, I thought for a second that maybe Godzilla was put in as an afterthought because he really felt like an afterthought. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, it's like they figured, well, if we put Godzilla in here, it'll boost ticket sales. He really doesn't do anything. No exaggeration. He fights more with Rodan than he does with King Ghidorah. The resolution to there is none. Pretty much the move, they defeat Ghidorah,
who flies off into space, which obviously they were hoping for a sequel.
Yeah, I would have loved if somehow the fairies were communicating with Mothra, who was talking to Godzilla, and setting up some sort of alliance between the monsters and the humans. That would have been awesome. We came up with that in about 10 seconds.
That would have been really interesting. This very uneasy pact. Of course, it would be going into really odd territory.
But
then
you
again,
could have played with that so much in the next half dozen movies.
You could very easily. I mean, we're talking about the same genre where these little twin fairies sing to a giant moth, and there's three-headed space dragons. I mean, I don't really think that's out of the realm of possibility.
It's not unrealistic compared to what we've been watching.
This also made me realize something as a Godzilla fan. I don't love every single Godzilla movie, period. I don't. I tolerate them, but as a fan, in the entire pantheon of Godzilla films, there are snippets that I love. There are parts in this movie that I adore. I think they're amazing. And with all these Godzilla movies, there are bits and pieces that put together as a whole just makes me a gigantic fan. But there are very few Godzilla movies that I can honestly sit there and say, I will watch from start to finish, constantly, never get tired of it. With that said, I would just like to say thank you very much for joining us here and watching this kind of downbeat review of Ghidorah, the three-headed monster. It is what it is. It has some great memorable scenes, but overall it's just kind of blah. You really want some good freaking Ghidorah monster action? Go see the next movie. So guys, for Godzilla's sake, keep watching more tokusatsu for the good of mankind, yourselves, and Brian.
Yep.
So please collect responsibly, and we shall catch you in a bit.